Hey, Walt from StogieReview.com here with another video cigar review. This one is sort of like a first impression cigar review in the sense that it's going to be relatively short. It's probably going to run a little bit more than the 5 minutes that I've been doing for the IVCPR sample reviews. And the reason being because I've had, I think, 2 or 3 of these cigars now. Not 2 or 3 of this particular size, but 2 or 3 within the line. And I've got some more that I want to do a bit of a vertical tasting with. And this cigar is the La Aurora 100 Años. I do not believe these are made anymore. These were limited production, I believe. And I had a lot of difficulty finding these. A couple of years ago, I was out at a Cigar Fest, and the day before the festivities kicked off, I was talking to Jose Blanco about some of the cigars that they make, and one of the ones that I told him I hadn't tried was the 100 Años. I couldn't find them locally, and I really don't do much buying online. Everything is local. If I can't get it at Kensington, which is a few miles away, I'll drive down to a shop called Sir Stogie's in Gilbertsville. They don't have something. I may drive down as far as Top Shelf Cigars in Skip Pack, which is about an hour away. And if I can't get something within those 3 stores, a lot of times, I really don't buy it unless I stumble onto it somewhere else, along the way. I don't do a whole lot of online ordering. So I didn't have any experience with the 100 Años, and Jose talked to me a little bit about it, and we discussed maybe doing some sort of vertical tasting in the future. And the following day we met up on the show floor at Cigar Fest, and calls me over and tells me, I brought a 100 Años Lancero with me to give you today. And he pulls that out of his jacket pocket. And he says, but I kind of forgot it was in there. I was moving around. I broke this cigar. So he had this 100 Años Lancero that, was kind of busted in the middle. So he kind of looks at it, gets out a cutter, whacks it in half, and he hands me the Lancero, and he goes, well, at least you can try the 100 Años Mini Lancero. And I had maybe 3 inches of cigar that I smoked while walking around. I was really, really impressed with it. I thought it was a fantastic cigar, and I hadn't seen the 100 Años after that for quite some time. It wasn't until just a couple of months ago that Jose was kind enough to send me some more. He wanted to get my opinion and possibly do some sort of vertical tasting on some of the different sizes. So I think he sent me about 8. And I smoked one shortly after I got them in the mail, and then my baby was born. And I really haven't been able to get into the swing of things, so it's been a little while since I picked one up. And I decided to kick off the morning with the Robusto, just because it's been entirely too long in the making. So this is just some first impression thoughts on the Robusto, and as I go along, I'm probably going to combine these videos so that it makes a long sort of vertical impression, or vertical tasting sort of video, and incorporates all the different sizes that Jose sent me. So again, for the Robusto, one thing about this cigar, I was getting a little agitated in the beginning. I lit it up, cut the cigar, lit it up. The draw was mildly stiff, and the flavor was a little bitter, and I wasn't getting a whole lot of smoke. So it seems kind of airy, and I don't want to draw on it too hard because I don't want the cigar to get warm. And I'm going really slow. I'm taking it easy. I'm enjoying the flavors. Mildly bitter. Something just tastes a little off. So I smoke it a little bit longer, and I'm in it about 20 minutes. And I look down and I have this tiny little droplet of tar on the head of the cigar, and I realized that I didn't cut deep enough. There was still a layer of binder or something across the head of the cigar, and I wasn't getting a full draw. It was being restricted by this flap of tobacco that was over there. So I get out the cutter, I recut it, tar goes away, and now I'm getting just loads and loads of smoke. Very dense, very thick, just copious amounts of smoke. Very, very flavorful, coats the palate really well, easy to go through the sinuses. It's not overwhelming, it's not overly peppery. This is my first cigar of the day, pairing it with coffee. It's about 7:15 a.m. and cigar is going really, really, really well in the morning. One of the things I like about La Aurora cigars, and it's a common trait among multiple cigars in the line, is you can pick them up morning, noon, or night, and they hold up really well. You know, some cigars I stray away from in the morning because they tend to be a little too overpowering. You know, they make me jittery. Some cigars, you know, I can't smoke them until the evening because they're just all power. With a lot of the La Aurora product, especially the 100 años, it's very balanced. It's flavorful. It's got a nice medium body. It's got a creamy texture, and it goes well regardless of when you pick it up. Talking a little bit too much, not smoking enough, so I may need to touch this up. The ash is a little on the dark side. It's got sort of a sandy texture. When you let it develop and you look at it closely, you'll see the little white speckles all over it, which from what I understand is magnesium in the soil. It's just kind of nice to look at. It's just one of those things that, you know, you just stop and look at and appreciate for what it is. I don't know that it really has anything to do with the flavor. It's just kind of aesthetically pleasing. I'm sure ultimately it has something to do with the flavor, you know, the added magnesium, but you know, I just kind of like to look at it, and it's something that I thought was noteworthy. The flavor components of the cigar are kind of interesting. It's got a little bit of a drying effect initially, and I get that drying effect on the front part of my tongue and palate, you know, like right behind the teeth and front of the tongue sort of general area. It's initially a little dry, and then as the residual smoke exits the mouth, I'm just sort of overwhelmed with this creamy kind of a sensation. It makes me salivate a little bit. It's got a nice, just a sort of like an oaky sort of wood flavor. It's got just a little bit of sweetness. I'm not getting any pepper or spice through the sinus, which in some cigars is really good. In other ones, I like that peppery blast. I think I appreciate it more in more full-bodied, fuller flavored cigars. In this case, where it's you know, middle, more about flavor, less about body, I appreciate that pepperiness kind of being absent. And just all in all, you know, this thing is doing just really, really well, and I'm really thrilled by the way this thing tastes. If I could get my hands on them and they weren't so expensive, I think I'd smoke one of these every day. Just, you know, to start off the morning. It's just, you know, really impressive. So a little bit more about the vertical tasting that I intend on doing. I believe I have a Corona, Petit Corona. I think I have a torpedo size to do yet. And generally, I just want to do some more of these videos, take a look at the flavor of the cigar. We'll go from there and just sort of build on each video. Since this is the starting point, the next video will be referencing this one, and then, you know, the one after that will reference the previous two, and then we'll just keep going and going and going until we're all done. At which point, what I'm going to try to do is incorporate all of the video segments into one larger video, and then do a comprehensive write-up with some, you know, some impressions on each one, and break it down that way. But so far, you know, just really enjoying the cigar. Very, very good. And I think that's going to close out this first video, this first impressions of the La Aurora 100 años Robusto. And until next time, happy smoking.